Hey yo, this deck is nice. I'm going to play some Simic Super Ramp on Arena, so let's go ahead and get to some matches that I've recorded. Now, the first match I'm going to have is going to be versus Mono Black, and this is a pretty good looking hand, so we'll go ahead and keep it. It looks like our opponent's going to mulligan it a couple of times, so we are in a even better position. Yep, we're going to go down to 5, so we'll start off with a breeding pool. Is going to come in tapped since we have no turn 1 play. Then our opponent's going to play a swamp and play Cauldron Familiar. Next we start off with Castle Garenbrig, and since we don't have another land to really put in, we're going to go ahead and pass. Then Yarg's Finlurker is going to exile a card, so we decide to go with Finale of Devastation, because it's not a card we need right now or can really play to take full advantage of. And right here is a feel bad moment, so I'm going to play a Lotus Field. Or am I? Yep, I decided to play a Lotus Field. And I'm going to go ahead and sacrifice the other 2 lands, and we're going to go ahead and pass the turn. Now right here is where I would need another land to go ahead and put down a Risen Reef, and what do you know? Another land just happens to pop up. I'm going to go ahead and resolve, and there's going to be another breeding pool on top. We'll put it on there tapped. If we pay for it to be untapped, it's just going to enter the battlefield tapped anyway, so we're going to go ahead and ignore that clause. And right now they're going to attack, and you decide to not block this attack. And we're just going to go ahead and let the 4 come through. And if you're wondering what tool I'm using on the side, it is called Untapped. It lets me see the deck that I'm playing. It shows my list, and also shows what odds of cards that I could potentially draw. So that is that. So right here, we're going to go ahead and play a Nissa. We're going to go ahead and untap our island. Then we're going to go ahead and swing with the island. I believe our opponent has some kind of removal before we connect. Or it looks like they're just taking their very, very sweet time. Yep, this is one of the moments where we have opponents who stall out pretty badly. But they do take the 3, and then we're just going to go ahead and pass our turn. To which at the end of our turn, they're going to go ahead and sack the cat to the oven, and then bring the cat back. So that they drain us for 2 life, 1 for the cat's ability, and 1 for a Yard's ability. Then they're going to drag to the underworld our island. So now all we're left with is a Risen Reef, and right here, instead of taking the damage, I decided to block the cat to see if they're going to go ahead and sack it to the oven, and they do not apparently. So now, I'm going to go ahead and tap the Lotus Field for 3 mana, play Kiora, and then Kiora is going to untap the Lotus, in which I'm going to play a Nyx Lotus. And then we're going to have Nissa untap the Lotus Field, which is the land. So now we have a hexproof 3/3 that they can't kill with removal. And it can block their Yara and their Fen Lurker pretty easily. So, realizing that there's not much I can do with the mana that I currently have, go ahead and cancel out that, and we're going to go ahead and just get an attack in for 3. I'm honestly surprised that my opponent didn't bring back a cat or leave the oven to sacrifice one of the creatures as a blocker, but who knows. Here the Murderous Rider are Nissa, so we can no longer make creatures out of our lands, and they pass turn. And now here's where the fun begins. So we're going to go ahead and play Cavalier of Thorns. And mind you now, at this point, our opponent is only at 3 mana, so they are tapped out entirely thanks to that Murderous Rider using the Swift In ability. And here we get not only a land to put on the field, but we also get to draw a card thanks to Kiora's ability, since Cavalier of Thorns is a 4-drop or greater. Well, has 4 power or greater. Ooh boy, and we draw a Nyx Bloom Ancient. Unfortunately, we can't play it this turn, but soon. Instead, what I think I opt to do is play the Great Hinge instead, since we have 4 in green, 4 devotion for green.
The ocean surges, life thrives.
My opponent lets it go. And then we're going to play Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. Now, it's going to gain us some life. If there's a land on top, we're going to put that on the battlefield, and then it's going to go away. But it's also going to draw us 2 cards, one off the Great Hinge and one off of Kiora. Unfortunately, we didn't draw the Temple of Mystery off of Uro because we could have put it into play and then drawn a different card, but works just the same way, and our opponent quits. Really didn't get to show them what else was in hand, and we're going to go to the next match, and they already quit. So, we're going to move on to the next game. Next game, look at our hand. 2 Breeding Pools, Leafkin, Risen Reef. This is a pretty good start. We're going to go ahead and keep that because the hand is just good. You can't really get any better than this other than just a free Omniscience, you know? So, we're going to go ahead and keep this 7. And by the way, I would like to just point out that this deck does a lot of really dumb stuff. So the reason why it's called Super Ramp is because of cards like Nyxborn Ancient being able to ramp up all your... giving you the most ramp possible. And you get to basically just play a lot of dumb giant green stuff. So, opponent starts off with a Gilded Goose. Fortunately for us, no Oko, so we're not too terribly worried. And then they're going to go ahead and play a Risen Reef. So they're kind of in the same area we are. We're going to go ahead and shock for the Breeding Pool, play Leafkin Druid. So can't really get any 1/1 beats in on us. And then they're going to play their own Uro. They're going to draw a card, gain 3 life, go up to 23, and are they going to drop a land? That they do. And they sacrifice their own Uro. And then we are going to play, not our own Uro, but we're going to play Risen Reef. We're going to get a Temple of Mystery, in which we will see what that top card is. It's going to be a Nissa, and we're going to go ahead and keep that on top. And then we will play a breeding pool tapped, but I think I opt away from the breeding pool and go with the Lotus Field instead. And we will sacrifice the Temple of Mystery and a breeding pool. Kind of feels bad, but in the long run, it works out. And our opponent makes a food token. And now our opponent is going to start dropping things out of their hand because they cannot play that Euro. They have nothing in graveyard but said Euro, and they cannot exile it to itself. So they play a Hydroid Crisis for 4, which is fine because now we can just play a Cavalier of Thorns, which is bigger than their Hydroid Crisis. So we'll go ahead and shock, we're down to 15. And Cavalier of Thorns is also an elemental, so it triggers Risen Reef, which we get another land, which we get another Cavalier. And then we're going to get a Temple of Mystery, which reveals a cure, and we'll keep her on top. Side no attacks. Now our opponent is going to drop down the Cavalier of their own. And here is where I believe we begin to go crazy with the deck. So we drop a Great Hinge. And because we have matching Cavalier of Thorns, I decide, oh, well, maybe Anissa is pretty good in this spot. But no, I need something bigger to deal with that Cavalier. And so I drop another Cavalier. So we're going to trigger Risen Reef again for its elemental clause. And Cavalier is going to get a land. And since we have the Great Hinge out, it's also going to get a +1/+1 counter. So it'll be a 6/7. And we're going to play another Temple of Mystery. And we have Thrix the Sudden Storm on top. And that card is going to be so much fun. However, we don't really get to play it next turn. And I will show you why. At this point, our opponent decides they're going to play a land. And then they're going to go attacking. They're going to swing with their Hydroid Crisis. And at this point, I have a Cavalier that can block it. See if they have any pumps. They don't. They just put it in the graveyard so they can get their Titan out. And get their Titan out is exactly what they do. And at this point, I realize that not only do I still have a creature bigger than theirs, but now they're out of cards. They have one card left. And this is where the game goes insane. We drop a Nyx Bloom Ancient because we have the mana for it. And then it resolves. It is also an elemental. We have, and the game is already over. Well, never mind. So on the sideboards, we're going to take out the 2 Nyx Lotus to put in 2 Ashiaks to prevent them from reoccurring Uro. And we're also going to swap out, I believe, a Jace Wielder of Mysteries. Seems like the right call for a Ashiok's Erasure. They're playing close to the same things we were playing, and there's some things we just don't want to stick, so we're going to take those things out. So, we start off the exact same way. They start with a forest, we start out with a forest. They play an island, we play an island, except we're going to follow up with a Leafkin Druid and pass. Then they're going to play a Blast Zone, and we're going to drop a Risen Reef. And the response is to put a counter on said Blast Zone. But that's fine, because our Leafkin is a 2-drop, Risen Reef is a 3-drop. And we're going to sacrifice a forest and an island. So if they wanted to blow it up here, they could have, but I don't think that is their intention. They're going to play a Krasis for 2. And then we're going to follow it up by playing Kiora. We're going to use Kiora to untap the Lotus Field. Then we're going to play an island. Then we're going to play an island. There you go. And then we're going to play a Cavalier, which is definitely much bigger than their Hydro Krasis. So we're going to draw some cards. And it's going to and they quit. Again. So we're going to move to the next match. Next match, we're going to start off with 3 lands, Leafkin Druid, and some other goodies. Now, this deck was actually pretty interesting. It was a black-white build that was running a couple of Elspeths, and it seemed like it was close to a Stacks deck, but it may have just been they ran enchantments and Doom Foretold, and that was pretty much it. So, they do nothing for a couple of turns. We're going to go ahead and drop a Cure. And we don't really have anything we can play, so we're just going to go ahead and untap a land. Nope, we're just going to go ahead and pass the turn. And right now I'm feeling that they are going to have a Murderous Rider to probably take out our Kiora or our Leafkin Druid. But they play a land and drop an Elspeth. And so now we're going to drop a Cavalier of Thorns. They're just going to get us a land. And we take... What card do we take? Well, Garenbrig. Castle Vantress. We take the Castle Vantress. Milan Anuro, which is actually pretty good. And then we draw a card, which is another Cure. And we're going to pass turn, untapping our Leafkin Druid. And here's where things start to turn against us. Because now they are going to play a Treacherous Blessing, draw 3 cards, and then they're going to play Final Payment. Sacrificing their Treacherous Blessing so that they don't take damage from it. Which is a pretty good move once they are able to do it. But first, we're going to create 2 white tokens. Then I'm going to get some notifications. Oh, but they don't do it this turn. That is correct. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. And I decide to tap the forest first, untap it, and then we're going to play Nyxborn Ancient, because I figure in the previous games, once I put it out on the field, our opponent pretty much just quit on the spot, and this would be no different. Get a forest, tap it for 3 mana, play another Cure, which has higher loyalty cost, and then go ahead and pass turn from there. Yep, decide to keep the one that has 7 loyalty. There's nothing really I could play at this point. And so I'm just going to untap this Temple of Mystery. And once I realize it does not work the same way as Nissa does, where you can tap for green and add additional colors, I just decide to pass my turn. I choose not to attack because I wanted to go ahead and keep the Cavalier back as a blocker. And this is where the final payment comes in. They use it to destroy my Nyxborn Ancient by sacrificing the Treacherous Blessing and not taking any damage, which is a pretty good play on their end. Then here comes Banishing Light, a card that, quote unquote, everybody misses. You can quote me on that, or not, that's fine. And then they give 2 of their soldier tokens, +2/+1, making them 3/2s. So this will be 8 damage coming across.
Find your
And it is going straight to me, which I've taken no damage thus far from this match. And none to Kiora, which is interesting. Then we get to untap, and we're going to play Euro or Uro. We will exile the 5 cards that are in our graveyard. And we'll get this massive 6/6. We're going to draw a card, draw another card, and then gain 3 life. Then we're going to play our Great Hinge. We're going to scry a land to the bottom. We're going to tap this, and then we're going to untap it. And in here, we're going to get another Leaf King. It's going to get a +1/+1 counter because of Great Hinge, and it's also going to draw another card. Then our opponent plays Elspeth Conquers Death, which kills our Euro. Which is unfortunate. But we aren't going to be sad entirely too long, because now we're going to play Nissa. Nissa is going to untap one of our forests. I'm sorry. Kiora's going to untap our Great Hinge. Then I believe we go to 2 attacks. Forest will attack, and I decided to keep the Leaf King back. I figure if I'm going to do any damage, it's going to take out at least 1 or 3 of their tokens. But they decided to not block, and it will just do 3 straight to the face. And I decided to not play Krasis here because I want to get Thrix out. And what better moment than during an opponent's agonizing remorse, so if they don't exile it, just flash it out, and then they're going to look at our hand to see what card they want to exile out of our hand. But we're also going to draw 2 cards before they do that. One being a land, which they can't take, and the other being a Risen Reef, which they can take. So what our opponent decides to do is they're going to take one of the Hydroid Krasis. And then I believe they're going to Oath of Kyre. They're going to kill our land, which we worked so hard to get pretty buff. You know, regain the life that we took from the said land that they're getting ready to kill. And they're going to pass turn. At this point, I have a Thrix out, which I am pretty excited about. So first things first, we're going to draw a card from Risen Reef, get a Neuro. We're going to draw a card from the Great Hinge, getting another Hydroid Krasis. And then we're going to tap a lot of mana. A whole lot of mana. We're going to untap. We're going to tap, untap, tap some more. I'm going to play this Hydroid Krasis for 10, I believe. And here you'll see me pretty much struggle with the numbers. So I thought I was going to go for something less, but I decided to, let's pump up those numbers. Let's go ahead and bring it up to 10. By the time it hits the battlefield, it'll become an 11. And the reason why it's glowing red is because now it is uncounterable thanks to Thrix. And also I forgot it costs 1 less because of Thrix. So thanks to that card for being really, really good. I'm going to drop another Risen Reef. So now we have 2 Risen Reef triggers and a Great Hinge trigger. We get 2 lands and we get a 3rd land off the draw. And we're going to play another Leafkin Druid. So we get the triple elemental. And we just draw lands, and a lot of action. So as you can see, my overlay is getting in the way. So as I attack everything, and I leave the land back. Since Thrix is a flyer, it's going to go ahead and do its thing in the air. And we will discard some cards. Start off with a Cure, a Breeding Pool, a Forest, and Euro.
Even the gods cannot escape my wrath.
And now our opponent has used Elspeth to gain some life again. We're going to play a Doom Foretold, but at this point, it is pretty much already too late. And they're going to play another spell. They're going to play Othakai to kill our other land. So, 3 damage there. And now, here is where the game is pretty much over. So we resolve Doom Foretold, sacrificing our 0/3 Leafkin Druid. And we're going to play another Euro. Exile 5 cards. And Euro is going to do a lot of things. It's going to draw a card from the Great Hinge, Kiora himself, gain 3 life. We'll probably get a land, which we do. It's an island. Great Hinge. And the last card we draw is the most important. Finale of Devastation. We're going to go ahead and play this card. First we need to get all the mana. And I do mean all the mana. But we decide not to plus Nissa. We're on a Finale for 15. Only getting a Leafkin Druid, but everything is really big. And this is where our opponent is just, they give up. They know that it's way too much to deal with. There's too many big creatures, and they all have haste. Just a flying creature alone is going to kill them, but now you have all these other creatures, plus this Euro that just stepped on the field. They're pretty much done. So, for sideboard, take out 2 Nyx Lotus. We put in 2 other cards that I don't remember. And we're going to go ahead and put in a Tameo, which we have in our opening hand, just to get back some of the cards that we've either discarded or had to discard from our opponent. They're going to Agonizing Remorseless, and they're going to take, I believe, our Tameo, which unfortunately is the only one we have in the deck. But what can you do? Yes, we won't be getting anything back from the graveyard. So we're just going to go ahead and play our lands as usual. They're going to get a basic plains, put it on the battlefield. Going to draw another Great Hinge. Here we play a Lotus Field, sacrificing our temple and our forest. They're going to get a wall. Pass turn. And we're going to get a Cure. We're going to play Cure. First we play the island. Then we play Cure, tap it for triple green. Then we're going to untap our Lotus Field. And we're going to play a Hydroid Krasis for 2.
Let's get moving.
And here is a card that we get that is going to be pretty neat later on. Ashiok Dream Reveler. So they lose their saga, it goes to the graveyard, it is finished doing what it needs to do. I believe they play Allegiance in on our creature, revealing 2 Great Hinges and an Ashiok. And now they're going to Noxious Grasp our QR. So, what we're going to do is we're going to Ashiok. They have taken from us, and now we will take from them. Which we take 3 lands in the Kaya's Wrath, and then we just eat away their whole graveyard, play a land, and pass. Which, unfortunately, at this part, they did have an answer. So we didn't keep Ashiok for long. They played Doom Foretold, and we got to pass and sacrifice our Ashiok. Now, we do have Thrix. And they have to lose their Doom Foretold because they have nothing else to sack to it. So we have a Thrix. So at the end of the turn, we flash out Thrix, but unfortunately, they get rid of it. And now we're running pretty much out of cards to play. However, Nissa is always there to be the savior that you need in time of necessary card draw. However, this is where a mistake happens. That island should have been tapped instead of a forest. So that way we could have gotten out a Great Hinge earlier. We could have tapped 2 forests, untapped one, and then tapped it again to play 6 mana, make 6 mana. But unfortunately, that didn't happen, and therefore we have to wait another turn. However, they're going to Banishing Light our Nissa anyway, so now we play Risen Reef. But first, we play a Great Hinge. And we can't really attack through this wall, so we're just going to go ahead and pass our turn. Our opponent's also not really drawing anything now. Seems like they've played all their answers, really. They have an Oath of Kaya, which is fine. So they're up to 22 life. We're at 21. We're not really doing anything. They're not really doing anything. And here's where we start doing stuff. So we're going to play Risen Reef. We're going to get a card from Risen Reef. That may be a land. It is not. Then we're going to draw a card from the Great Hinge. And then we play another Risen Reef. And we're going to get land number 1, which is a Temple of Mystery. Look at the top. It is a forest. We keep it there. We're going to get land number 2, which is the forest that we kept there. And then we draw a card off the Great Hinge. And then we play a Leafkin Drill. We still have 1 mana floating, and then we tap another forest to get the double elemental trigger and a Great Hinge draw. So first things first, enter tapped Breeding Pool, another land, Temple of Mystery. It's an island. We're going to keep on top. Then we're going to draw it, and then that's going to be our land for turn. And we're going to pass. Our opponent is going to cast a Lock Twain, lose 2 life. And then they're going to hit us with a sweeper. Pretty much saw it coming at some point, but they're going to Kaya's Wrath us right here. So gain 1 of those life back from the Castle Lock Twain earlier, but there's nothing else that we can do. And now, thanks to all that card draw, we're going to Cavalier of Thorns. And we're going to get a land card, and we're also going to get a card to draw. So we get a Breeding Pool here. It's going to come in untapped. Then we're going to draw a card. And unfortunately, it's going to be Euro, which I would have rather have been the one that goes into the graveyard. But what can you do? And now we just play a giant Hydroichrasis. So playing for 7, we're going to get 3 cards and gain 3 life. And we're going to make it an 8/8, draw another land. And then next turn, you see what it is. You see that card down there. It's the only enchantment. It's coming down. It's going to do some damage. We have a Nyxborn Ancient in hand. And so now we wait to see what our opponent does, because I'm already hyped for the next turn. I know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen. And they're going to Cavalier of Dawn. And they're going to blow up their own... they're going to blow up their own Oath of Nissa? I mean, we have 2 creatures and a Great Hinge that has been doing a lot of work, and they don't touch it. Okay. The Banishing Light are Hydroichrasis, but that's okay. Because Nyx Blue Ancient is here, and we still have land untapped. And now, and they just quit. Seems to be a recurring theme. Anytime Nyx Bloom Ancient just hits the field and they still land untapped, they don't want us to play it out. Alright, starting off the game 2, we have a Castle Garenbrig and an island and a Risen Reef. So 2 out of the 3 lands we need to drop this Risen Reef. And our opponent mulligans, and they let us play... Oh wait, no, this is a new match. I apologize. This is blue-black control. And now we've drawn our 3rd land for our Risen Reef. However, our opponent is going to Thought Eraser us, which does not feel good at all. They get rid of our Risen Reef, so now we have to figure out what we're going to do. And we draw our 3rd land, and we're going to play an Uro right now. Uro's going to hopefully find us some land, which he does, and then just go to the graveyard. So right now we're out-ramping our opponent. We have 4 lands to their 3. And I'm just looking for something to stick, because I know they're going to be kind of heavy. Play another Thought Erasure, and I think they go for the 2nd Euro. That they do. So now we're going to play the Nyx Lotus, which has 0 devotion right now, but we'll worry about that later. So instead, I'm going to actually take a turn off. I think about playing a Cure, and then I think, you know what? I'll take a turn off so I can flash in Thrix. And if Thrix doesn't stick, at least my opponent is out of mana to counter the next spell I have. So our opponent has a land come in tapped. And then they're going to pass. So they don't play anything, and then I go ahead and throw Thrix out there, to which they do have a answer for, and Sinister Sabotage. But they're currently now down to 1 mana, and I draw another land. Now I'm going to go ahead and play Cure. So even if they have something like Mystical Dispute, I have enough mana to counter it. Go ahead and untap a land. I notice I don't have enough mana to bring out an Eero. So I just go ahead, untap a land, and then pass the turn.
The ocean surges, life thrives.
Now, our opponent seems to be pretty reactive to everything that I'm doing, so they're just doing nothing on their turn and trying to do everything on ours. And now we have a Hydroichrasis, so that's pretty good. And I can go ahead and cast it for 4. So we'll gain 2 life, we'll draw 2 cards, and see where that gets us. And they bring out the Murderous Rider to kill our Cure, so unfortunately we don't get to untap with it. And now it seems that our opponent is running very close to out of cards, but they do have a Castle Locktwain. So we're going to go ahead and pass this turn. In which, first, I'm going to go ahead and attack for 4. So if they do have any kind of spell, they can go ahead and use it here on Hydro Crisis, like Drowning Lock. And then I play Risen Reef. They won't respond, so we'll get the Risen Reef trigger, which is a Cavalier of Thorns. And then we'll play, excuse me, and then we'll play, tap into mana, oh yeah, we're going to tap for 6 here. Now we're going to play Cavalier of Thorns. And my wish is to hopefully find a land that is untapped to play the Leafkin Druid as well. So we're going to go ahead and get another Crisis off the Risen Reef. Then we're going to get a Castle Ventress, which is our untapped land. And now we're going to play Leafkin Druid. And that is enough for our opponent to call it quits. So in this match, we're going to go ahead and bring in some Shifting Ceratops, since they cannot be countered in their protection from blue. And we're also going to bring in 2 Ashiok's Erasures, 2 new cards from this set. And then we're going to side out the Nyx Lotus. And we're going to take out... let's see, what do we take out here? We'll take out the Finale of Devastation. Start off, pretty good hand. Either castle or temple can come in tapped. We decided to go with the temple so we can look for more land. Nissa, while not a good card right now, can be good for later, so we decided to keep her on top anyway. And now we drop a Forest and drop a Leafkin Druid. Our opponent has 3 lands, 2 blues, so I'm going to go ahead and play an Earl so we can gain some life and get some more lands, but they have a Mystical Dispute ready for it, which is unfortunate, but we continue to move on. So I now have 4 lands, and they're going to go ahead and play a Thought Eraser to look at our hand. Thought Eraser kind of being a drawback for them because it does fill our graveyard for Uro. But they're also going to kill our Drawing Lock to slow us down for a turn. We draw a Breeding Pool. Can't really do too much with it because it did kill our Leafkin Druid, so it'll come in tapped. And we pass the turn. Currently only 3 cards in the graveyard, 2 Euro and 1 Leafkin Druid. And then we draw a 3rd Euro. Do they have a counter for this? That they do. So they don't play anything. We play a Temple of Mystery. We see Thrix on the top. And leave them up there for some reason, even though I already have a Thrix in hand. So at this point, I just go ahead and pass the turn. And I will flash in Thrix on their instead. this point, I would like to also point out that I really need to change the basics. I do have better basics than this. However, you still can't go wrong with Rebecca Boy. So they hit us with a Thought Erasure, and we flash out Thrix, and I believe they have Mystical Dispute to stop that. So we lose that card, and then we're going to lose another one. Now this gives us enough to put Titan on the field, but since they're tapped out of blue, might as well just go ahead and throw this out there. Go ahead and untap the land, get in for 3 damage, and that's our turn. Which they will murder us right on Nissa, of course. Now here we have some decisions to make. So we're going to attack first. Then we're going to cast Thrix. Then we're going to play a Lotus Field, sacrificing our 2 Temple of Mystery. Then we're Thought Erasure us once again. What they don't realize is now, once we draw another land, this Nyxborn Ancient is alive, and we draw another land. So first, I just go ahead and put it out there, see if they have any way of getting rid of it. And they play a Liliana Dreadhorde General, and they're going to get rid of both of our creatures. But that is all fine and dandy, because Euro is just going to come out. One of them. Still have mana for another one later. We still have the graveyard for another one later without getting rid of the last one. But we do have a Euro on the field. Lily is going to plus, putting a zombie out to stop us or slow us down momentarily. And our opponent's also going to put out a Murderous Rider. And they're going to opt. Gonna bottom that and draw a card. I think they were looking for a Adrenaline Log and they did not find it. So now we're going to plus our island. And we're going to send both at Nissa. We're going to not put the Lotus Field in play yet. And our opponents decide to just not block. So, they're literally how to do it. And then we're going to use the mana to play a Risen. We're going to put a basic force on the field. And then we're going to end our turn. We're going to play another land, and they're going to play another Liliana if they have in hand. First, we're going to attack with a Murderous Rider and their Zombie Token, which we're going to block the Murderous Rider, so they'll gain some life. Then they'll play Liliana. They're going to make us sacrifice 2 creatures, so we'll just sacrifice the island and the Risen Reef. And then we have another Nyxborn Ancient, which is pretty good. Now we're going to play this Lotus Field and Liquid. So, overall, this deck is really, really sweet. I do like it if you like to I did make some adjustments from an original list where they had 4 Nyxborn Ancient, and I just took 2 out because I didn't have the wild cards and put in 2 Nyx Lotuses. As far as the sideboard, I pretty much just made like a generic blue-green sideboard. But that is it for this deck. It was really sweet, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you'd like to see more, please subscribe to the channel. I will try to pump out as much content as possible. And thank you for watching.